Baton changes hands at the Nigeria Police Force. Diso takes over from Egbetokun. Central Bank cuts interest rate to 26.5% as Nigeria's foreign reserves hit 13-year high.
All things being equal, I believe that the trajectory we are on is one that is sustainable into the future.
Closing Nigeria's energy gap, federal government secures additional financing for renewable energy projects across the country.
The future of Nigerian grid may be secured and enhanced by interconnected mini-grid that we have started deploying.
Hello and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I am Elizabeth Omori. Tonight, Hingino John Adams will serve us reports from the city of Lagos. Business news is with a very busy businessman, Benny Adams. Benny?
Well, Elizabeth is sharing news for not just investors in Nigeria's capital market, as the NGX is the best performing index talking about year to date in Africa, but also the central bank's decision to reduce interest rates possibly means cheaper credit for MSMEs. We'll give you details in the course of the bulletin.
That's good to know. And Bade is on sports. Bade.
Well, Elizabeth, stakeholders in the Nigerian basketball fraternity are calling for a united front going forward, and we've got Champions League matches ongoing.
So much for us tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. And don't forget to follow this newscast live on our website, nt.ng/live, and other social handles on the screen. Now the news. President Bola Tinubu accepts the resignation of the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, following the submission of his letter citing pressing family considerations. He received Egbetokun's resignation earlier today and expresses his profound appreciation for Egbetokun's decades of distinguished service to the Nigeria Police Force and the nation. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has approved the appointment of Assistant Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, to serve as Acting Inspector General of Police, confident that AIG Disu's experience will provide direction for the Nigeria Police Force during this critical period. In compliance with the Police Act 2020, the President will convene a meeting of the Nigeria Police Council to formally consider the appointment of AIG Disu as Substantive Inspector General of Police, after which his name will be transmitted to the Senate for confirmation. Now, with this new chapter, as it opens at the Force Headquarters, Assistant Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu emerges Nigeria's 23rd Indigenous Inspector General of Police on acting capacity. Francis Form brings us more details.
From the high-octane streets of Lagos with the Rapid Response Squad to covered high-risk operations with the Intelligence Response Team, Olatunji Disu's career has been defined by action, precision, and results. He has led some of the police force's most sensitive and strategic commands, serving as Commissioner of Police in Rivers State and the Federal Capital Territory, Principal Staff Officer to the former IGP Kayode Egbetokun, and later taking charge of the Special Protection Unit and the Force Criminal Investigations Department in Alagbo.
I've always been in operations, investigations, and tracking. I still felt I could go with them. So they are very free to discuss with me. All the tactical teams are free to discuss operations with me.
Security analyst described his profile as a rare blend: street smart policing paired with calm, calculated leadership at the highest level of command. Now at the helm of the nation's police leadership at Louis Edet House, Disu steps in at a defining moment. Nigeria is grappling with evolving security threats, from organized crime and cyber syndicates to recurring communal tensions all demanding sharper intelligence, smarter technology, and faster response. With expectations running high, Nigerians will be watching closely to see how the new police chief delivers on reform, enforcing discipline, improving officers' welfare, embracing modern technology tools, and rebuilding confidence in the Nigeria Police Force. Frank Sesform, NTA News.
To other news, the Tinubu administration under the Renewed Hope agenda reforms is expanding governance instruments, rising above symbolism to engagements of grassroots mobilization for economic prosperity. This coming from the 2026 Progressive Governors Forum, Renewed Hope Ambassadors Summit held at the Presidential Villa. Status correspondent Abrahman Jibrila reports.
Unveiling of the Renewed Hope Ambassadors Compendium by Vice President Kashim Shettima. The summit with the theme Taking Renewed Hope to the Grassroots, targeting the national launch of the federal government's World Development Program through aggressive outreach, engagement and mobilization.
This moment calls for us to reflect on the reforms we have pursued, the sacrifices made, and the responsibility we share. Translate vision into measurable impact for our people. From the start, our administration chose the path of honesty and discipline. We confronted deep-seated structural distortions. In so doing, we have restored fiscal credibility, stabilized the economy, and set the foundation for long-term economic growth.
We are at a pivotal point in our national journey. The economic reforms introduced by this administration, including fiscal consolidation, tax reform, exchange rate realignment, and subsidy restructuring, are reshaping the foundations of our economy.
This summit is all about ambitions and institutional continuity. The Nigerian people deserve stability. They deserve reforms that works. They deserve a party that speaks with clarity. They deserve leadership that thinks beyond the next election cycle. As progressive governors, we recommit ourselves to strengthening national cohesion, supporting federal reforms, ably led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR.
And to the Renewed Hope ambassadors, carry the message, the last mile, and to every APC member. You are not just a supporter, you are the messenger of our national transformation. Let this summit mark the beginning of a disciplined, data-driven, grassroots power movement that secures not just governance, but generational dominance of our party in Nigeria.
Promotion and dissemination of the party's achievements and the milestones since 2023, thereby reinforcing the message of renewed hope nationwide, was also part of the discourse at the summit. From the State House, Abrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
The federal government describes as false and baseless allegations that the Nigerian government paid ransom to militant commanders to secure the release of the school children abducted from St. Mary's Boarding School in Niger State. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, in a statement says the allegations constitute a disservice to the professionalism and integrity of Nigeria's security forces and sacrifices they make daily. He notes that no ransom was paid to no militant commanders were freed, as no commanders were freed, as these allegations rely entirely on anonymous intelligence sources and individuals familiar with the talks. In other news, the federal government says it has noted recent statements and recommendations emerging from engagements within the United States Congress contained in a joint report on Christian persecution in Nigeria submitted to the White House on Monday by the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Appropriations Committee concerning security developments in Nigeria. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, in a statement says Nigeria acknowledges that parts of the country continue to face serious security challenges, but Nigeria does not have a state policy of religious persecution, as the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion and freedom of worship. He assured that the federal government will continue to engage international partners through appropriate diplomatic channels while remaining focused on the protection of all Nigerians. To budget defense, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, appeals to the 10th National Assembly for legislative actions that will ensure better funding of the ministry, as it is strategic in building a Nigeria with better values and national orientation. This was when the minister appeared before the National Assembly's Joint Committee on Information and National Orientation to defend the ministry's 2026 budget. Salu Abdullah Gwanara reports.
As custodian of the policies and programs of Renewed Hope, the government spokesman is desirous to do more and sustain trust he is building to public communication through a more robust budget.
From 2025 to 2026, our capital allocation for 2026 is 1.434 billion. Overhead allocation for 2026 is 1.27 B. Now, let's talk about the performance. In 2025, we have appropriation for personnel costs standing at 5.588 billion naira, 932 million and 5 kobo for 2025. Now, I want to draw the attention of the committee to say that this was actually, as at the time it was done in 2025, the Ministry of Information and Ministry of Culture, the budgets were merged for the personnel cost.
That this Joint Committee on Information and National Orientation is totally committed to the effective and efficient performance of the statutory function of various MDS who are here today. Your indispensable roles are sacrosanct to the socio-economic and political development of this country. As such, we shall strive to ensure that the ministry and all the agencies under its supervision are well funded.
At the end of the closed-door session, they were unanimous towards improved budget for the ministry.
You know, we are going to an election year now. That is the ministry and the agencies that is saddled with the responsibilities of dissemination of information and sensitization of Nigerians.
We are on the same page, both the Executive and the National Assembly. And I do hope that this time around, the National Assembly will work to ensure that the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation and all its agencies have the proper funding that they require so that Nigerians will have the benefit of all the programs and policies of this administration better. Of course, we are doing our best. We are trying our best with what we have, but we need to do better.
Heads of agencies under the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation appeared at the budget defense alongside the minister. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullah Gwanara, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly has postponed resumption of plenary earlier scheduled for this Tuesday, 24th of February 2026. A statement signed by the clerk of the National Assembly, Kamoru Ogulano, says the postponement is to enable committees of the Assembly conclude ongoing budget defense sessions. Plenary will reconvene in both chambers on Thursday, 5th of March 2026. To electoral matters, INEC has clarified that the splitting of polling units to allow for more voter participation was carried out in 2022 and not prior to the FCT-era council elections. A statement by the Commission clarifies that no voter was migrated to another polling unit during the FCT-era council elections. On text messages and emails sent to affected voters from February 18th to 2026, indicating their polling unit locations, INEC says these notifications were intended solely as reminders to assist voters identify their designated polling points. You're watching the network news on NTA. When we return, CBN cuts interest rate to 26.5% as foreign reserves hit 13-year high. Details when we return. Thank you with us. And now to economic matters. Nigeria's central bank is stepping into 2026 with a careful balance of caution and confidence. Benchmark interest rate has been trimmed by 50 basis points to 26.5%, a shift as inflation begins to ease while key safeguards remain firmly in place. Musa Abubakar reports.
2026 begins with a story of cautious optimism for Nigeria's economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria is charting a careful path between growth and stability. In its first policy meeting of the year, the Monetary Policy Committee has eased the key interest rate by 50 basis points to 26.5%, offering a glimmer of relief to businesses and households grappling with high borrowing costs. Yet some levers remain steady. CRR, liquidity ratios, and the standing facility corridor remain unchanged, a reminder that stability cannot be sacrificed for speed.
The sort of decreases we are seeing in food inflation should continue like that. We understand the structural rigidities, and we understand that the fiscal is doing everything possible.
Governor Cardoso notes that disinflation is gaining momentum, while 20 banks now meet the new capital requirements, signaling growing resilience in Nigeria's financial system.
Total verified and approved capital raise stands at 4.05 trillion naira. This balance, in my view, represents a mix of domestic and foreign, which signals broad investor engagement and confidence in the sector.
Meanwhile, gross foreign reserves have soared to $50 billion, a 13-year high, giving the nation a strong buffer against global uncertainties.
All things being equal, I believe that the trajectory we are on is one that is sustainable into the future.
But the CBN warns unchecked pre-election spending could threaten these hard-won gains, risking a resurgence of inflation and instability. In Abuja, Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
And joining us now in the studio to speak more on the benchmark interest rate is Professor Uche Uwaleke, Director, Capital Market Studies Institute, Nasarawa State University, Kefi. Prof, thank you so much for joining us on the Network News.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for inviting me. My pleasure.
Now, 50 basis points to 26.5%. Does this signal the beginning of a monetary easing cycle, or is it just a cautious adjustment? Let's know.
Well, both.
Okay.
Yes. I think it signals the beginning of a calibrated, easing of monetary policy, and at the same time, it's a cautious one. That's why I said it's both. You see, at this point, the CBN wouldn't want to rock the boat. The economy would appear to be enjoying some macro level, stability. You've seen it. Inflation has been on the downward trend for the past, 11 consecutive months, and the CBN has reason to believe that the disinflation, is likely to continue. We've seen accretion in reserves. You saw the numbers by now over 50, trillion naira. Exchange rate has also been stable. Food inflation, particularly has been, dropped below 10%, and on a month-on-month basis, if you check the January report, has even entered negative territory. So when you look at all that, and against the backdrop of the fact that the central bank is currently implementing, banking sector recapitalization, we hear 20 banks have met that, that requirement, but 13 others, have yet to meet that requirement.
Okay.
For the banks, the financial stability ratios are strong. So given all of this, the central bank wouldn't want to, as I said earlier on, rock the boat. So whatever they want to do that, gradually in the interest, of the economy.
All right, Prof, I would like to come in there. How sustainable is this level, especially if oil prices fluctuate? Can there be stronger reserves? And what does it translate to for our economy?
Yes, of course. Well, unfortunately, the economy continues to depend on the vagaries of the oil market. But the good thing is that we are also having some level of compensation by way of foreign portfolio investments, which is also why the central bank is not too keen on implementing an aggressive monetary policy rate cut, because that would also serve as a disincentive for the inflows that we are getting at the moment. So the central bank needs to balance all of that. Yes, I guess for now we are enjoying relatively good oil price. We're also enjoying relative improvement in production levels. But even if we experience shocks in those areas, as I said earlier on, as long as the economy continues to be favorable, the foreign investors going to have confidence in the reforms in particular that are being implemented. And I think the inflows, foreign investors will continue to come. And that's also why the central bank has to keep an eye on the interest rates.
Professor Uche Walek, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the news. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And for more financial matters, let's join our busy businessman, Benny. Benny?
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Taking from what Prof has just said, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, that is PEBEC, and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, have unveiled the upgraded report NG at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. The unveiling marks a symbolic reactivation of the Report Gov kiosks across major international airports in Lagos, Abuja, Enugu, Kano, and Port Harcourt. The Report Gov is the federal government's official service delivery feedback across the ministries, departments, and agencies. Director General of PEBEC, Zara Mustafa Audu, says the deployment of physical kiosks expands access to the platform by providing 24/7 self-service channels in high-traffic government locations, ensuring that citizens and travelers can easily report service gaps as they occur. Fund Managing Director Olubunmi emphasized the strategic importance of airports as service touchpoints and reiterates Fund's support for initiatives that enhance transparency and service quality within the aviation ecosystem. Now, moving on, media practitioners with the theme Reimagining the Whistler Innovation, Integrity and Impact gathered in Abuja to brainstorm on the need to balance profit, credibility and trust, betting on the idea that the most valuable currency in journalism is not a viral headline that attracts the clicks. They posit that the era of posting a sensational headline, bait a click, and collect a fraction of a cent or naira in advertising is fast fading amid artificial intelligence, summarizing news directly on such screens. They agree that media practitioners need to diversify, build trust, balance, and grow revenue.
It's a tricky, place to be in. But the most important thing that we have to do is that journalism, first of all, is a responsibility before it is a business.
Because you have built that brand, you can now use the brand to do whatever you like. They see value. They're following what your activities are, they see value.
Grant funding did keep many media houses afloat. There was a deliberate effort to pour money into media houses. Because at that time, the story was that the media is at the front line.
Moving on, market is green in South Africa and Tunisia are the best performing stock market in Africa, which is Nigerian. NGX closed with the BS leading, a total of 1.129 billion shares in 72,159 deals, corresponding to a market value of 45.472 billion were traded. Now, looking at volume, we have improvement in turnover, but 24% decline in deals. The market capitalization is 124.8 trillion naira. And on the aggregate, we have 130 listed equities participating in trading, ending with a number 24 gainers and 40 losers. Jaiz Bank led the gainers, while on the flip side, we have Access Bank holding Fortis Global Insurance and Zenith Bank. That is it on Business Tonight.
Thank you so much, Benny. Now, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASEN, is engaging the federal government to address grey areas in the Executive Order 9 that would take a toll on the interest of workers. PENGASEN President Festus Osifo made this known during the union's National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Joseph Otsen reports.
Leadership of Nigeria's oil and gas workers gather to discuss recent development in the industry. One of the major issues on hand is the recently signed Executive Order 9, halting the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited from collecting management and frontier exploration fees and directing that all oil and gas revenues flow directly into the Federation account. In here, the Workers' Union is taking a deeper look at implications of the order on oil revenue management.
The main crux of it today, yes, we have said that it negates the PIA, but the government said they are relying on the constitutional provision. So we are coming from two divergent positions. But beyond the process, we have now moved into the substance, and that substance is how will this impact on our members?
The Executive Order 9, the federal government says, will improve transparency and ensure oil revenue flows. The union, however, believes subjecting the policy for national debate will take care of legal and operational issues. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Senator Representative from Tuazon, also known as Katsina South Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Montari Dandotse Mohammed, has provided thousands of constituents with food and financial support. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali shows details.
The decades-long Ramadan support outreach for 2026 drew the usual Mama's crowd. Several dignitaries, among them the governor of Katsina State, Umar Dikurada, former and 7 federal and state lawmakers, as well as stalwarts of the All Progressives Congress, graced the event. They commended Senator Ndutsi for lending a helping hand during the period of the religious exercise. Senator Ndutsi expressed his comments to assist his constituents, explaining that the Ramadan outreach cuts across different segments of the society, including women and youth groups, as well as traditional, religious and political leaders.
I inherited this tradition from my parents, and for posterity reason, generosity is being encouraged in each and every religion. We have less privilege, less advantage, and for a better success of any individual who was endowed by God, no matter how small it is, so you need to help the vulnerable. Helping the poor is a key to success of each and every individual.
He commended the federal and state governments for uplifting livelihoods across communities through development projects in Katsina State. The beneficiaries expressed gratitude for the support and urged others so blessed to emulate the kind gesture. Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now to aviation and import. Jigawa State Government has renewed efforts towards the installation of cargo facilities at the Dutse International Airport to facilitate direct import of goods into the state. Mohammed Taskira reports.
The delegation is in the state to conduct calibration exercise aimed at ensuring that the airport's navigational and operational facilities meet international aviation standards in line with established guidelines for safe and effective air transport services. Governor Umar Namadi, who reaffirmed his administration's commitments to the continuous upgrade of airport facilities, stated that the state government remains determined to diversify Jigawa's economic potential for enhanced growth and development. He noted that the airport plays a strategic role in driving investment, trade and connectivity within and beyond the state. While interacting with the visiting team, the governor emphasized the importance of the airport to Jigawa State's economic expansion, assuring them of the necessary government support to further enhance its operations. He disclosed that the Namadi administration has approved substantial funds for the enhancement and modernization of the airport's infrastructure.
Safety is key to whatever we are doing. So, especially air travels.
So as far as we are concerned, we want to make sure that this airport is according to standards. Today, we can be proud that this airport is one of the best airports we have in Nigeria. Yes. So I will continue to maintain this standard.
We have some ground checks to do, and then we'll go in the air and then check the performance of the facilities here, and we'll be able to ascertain if the equipment is operating within the tolerances that is acceptable internationally.
The commitment stakeholders believe is expected to strengthen aviation services in the state and position Jigawa for greater socio-economic advancement. In Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
A bit from the court now. The Road Transporters Employers Association of Nigeria, RATIAN, has welcomed the ruling of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria Abuja Division, delivered by Justice Olufunke Anowe, which brought confidence to the rule of law and the judiciary. Delivering the judgment, Justice Anowe says where any person refuses or neglects to comply with a competent court order, the court has power under Section 72 of the Sheriffs and Civil Processes Act to order that he be committed to correctional custody and that until he purges his contempt. Accordingly, the court says the first and second respondents, Eriyo Osakpawa and Yusuf Ibrahim Adeniyi, are guilty of disobedience of the court judgment of 13th of October 2020, and a bench warrant has been issued against them. They are to be committed to Kuje Correctional Center until they comply with the orders of the court. RATIAN's national president, Musa Mohammed Mekakobi, says the judgment is a victory for all members and the rule of law. It's time to join Hingino in Lagos for more reports on the news. Hingino.
Welcome to Lagos. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has assured local and international passengers of adequate safety measures at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, despite the inferno that engulfed part of the old terminal building. Joel Pukola reports that flight operations is in full swing with high influx of passengers.
The operational glitch caused by the inferno initially led to palpable fear among passengers. Normalcy was, however, restored within a few hours, and now flight operations are at its peak with hordes of passengers traveling to various destinations. The impact of the damage caused by the inferno is visible, with critical infrastructure in the terminal seriously affected. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, who is in Lagos to assess the gravity of the damage and ensure unhindered operations, says there is no cause for alarm and safety measures have been intensified, emphasizing that the new terminal was not affected.
Even before this fire, if you look behind, we had already made temporary arrangement to move most of the airlines, most of the entities in that space to the temporary place provided by the CCECC. What this has just done is to hasten our move away from the building. The building was about to be pulled down anyway and totally rehabilitated. However, a lot of our equipment were damaged.
The minister also inspected the temporary terminal, which has been fully equipped with modern facilities ready to accommodate about 4 airlines. He noted that size and efficiency were taken into cognizance in the planning of the temporary terminal.
We have done this to assure Nigerians that we are actually prepared for the movement away from that place. So I'm sure you have seen the facility. This whole facility here is a temporary check-in terminal for the airlines that were operating in D and E, which is the Terminal 1 that was gutted by fire.
All is now set for the operation of the temporary terminal, which will reduce pressure on the old terminal. In Lagos, Joel Opola, NTA News.
Glad to know you're still there. Now let's shift attention to electrification. The federal government says it has secured additional financing for more renewable energy projects across the country as Nigeria commits to closing its energy gap. Joshua Ojito reports that the Rural Electrification Agency facilitated the landmark deal.
A commitment to light up communities and power the economy. With an estimated industry record of more than 80 million Nigerians without access to electricity, This intervention seeks to accelerate deployment of off-grid, interconnected mini-grid and solar home systems to unserved and underserved communities.
What we are now seeing is now the future of Nigerian grid may be secured and enhanced by interconnected mini-grid that we have started deploying. Currently, we are deploying over 50 interconnected mini-grids to inject over 280 megawatts of renewable energy into the national grid.
We are launching a platform for economic activation, for inclusion, because when you take reliable power to an underserved community, you are not only switching on lights, you are switching on productivity, enterprise, education, healthcare, and financial participation.
Rural Electrification Agency (REA) mobilizes 100 billion naira through financing partner for renewable energy projects. This is expected to catalyze investment in the renewable energy subsector, improve electricity access in the country with additional megawatts on the grid, and ultimately boost the economy. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
And in education, the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, Professor Ishak Oluide, has visited Maiduguri for the official flag-off of a modern computer-based test CBT center and zonal office valued at about 1 billion naira. Pauline Kujavana was there.
The foundation-laying ceremony marks the official commencement of construction of the combined project, valued at about 1 billion naira, comprising a 667 million naira computer-based CBT center and a 331 million naira zonal office building. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum announced that the initiative will be replicated in each of Borno State's 3 senatorial districts to expand access to modern examination facilities and place the government support in building the CBT centers and zonal office to ensure seamless operations.
JAM is completely going online in the next few months, so they need to have more computerized centers with the building access to the children of Borno.
From the resources of the state, I did this wonderful facility for the use of Nigerians from within and outside Nigeria. It is very, very wonderful and we appreciate.
When completed, the zonal office will coordinate JAMB operations across Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states, while the CBT center will strengthen the education sector in Borno by providing students with modern testing facilities. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
You're still watching the news at 9. Let's take our last break.
Time to talk
sports update with Bade. Bade.
Time to talk sports. Straight away, let's begin with basketball. Our stakeholders have urged a united front to promote the growth of the game in Nigeria. Speaking in Abuja after an interactive session with journalists, they called for a lasting resolutions to issues surrounding the tenure of the current board of the Nigeria Basketball Federation. They also commended the National Sports Commission for its mediatory efforts aimed at restoring stability, reviving the local league, sustaining international success.
Our MBBF constitution should be obeyed. That is number one. And let us have a new board that will come in place, which will be open and fair for everybody who wants to contest.
Turn our attention to football now and away from Nigeria as Atletico Madrid delivered a commanding performance as they defeated Club Brugge 4-1 in the second leg of the UEFA Champions League playoff encounter to book a place in the knockout stages. After a thrilling 3-0 draw in the first leg, the victory secured a 7-4 aggregate triumph. 3 more matches are currently ongoing, with Olympiacos having work to do tonight after a 2-0 first leg home defeat to Bayer Leverkusen. Inter Milan are also chasing a comeback against Bodo Glimt after a shock first leg loss, while Newcastle United remain in control, carrying a 5-goal cushion into their clash with Karabakh. As it stands, they are leading 2-0. And of course, lastly, let's let you know that Paris Saint-Germain defender Achraf Hakimi is set to face trial following an allegation of sexual abuse made against him. A 24-year-old woman accused the Morocco international of raping her at his home in Paris in 2023. Hakimi has strongly denied the allegation. In a statement, his lawyer confirmed that a trial has been ordered, that the player awaits the proceedings with determination and resolve and is confident that justice will be served. The development comes as PSG prepares to host AS Monaco in the second leg of their UEFA Champions League knockout round on Wednesday evening. And that does it on Sports Tonight. Let's now return to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Buddy. And before we go, let's take a quick look at tomorrow's weather outlook.